All right, hi friends. My name is Jordan and welcome to my channel. I am starting this YouTube channel. Well, I say starting, I feel like I've been starting YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, some form of content creation for 10 years now, and this is the umpteenth time, but that's okay. We fall off, we pick ourselves back up, and we keep going. So the goal of this channel is just to be lifestyle, fashion content, generally just trying to document a little bit more here and there. But first things first, I want to introduce myself. So get ready with me while I tell you about myself and what's going on. All right, so for starters, I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. I was born there and then I lived in North Carolina until I was 22. Well, I grew up in Charlotte, and then when I was 10 years old, I moved to outside of Charlotte, just 30 minutes down the road, but regardless, that's where I met a lot of my friends that I still have to this day. But overall, I do like North Carolina and I can appreciate it, especially now that I am not living in North Carolina. I have a bigger appreciation, not necessarily of like, you don't know what you have until it's gone, but I do like going home. I like having Southern roots, and it's something that I can admire, both like being in it now and also being from afar. Otherwise, I am 25 years old. I turned 25 earlier this year. My birthday's on May 12th, so I am a Taurus. I do a little bit of dabbling in astrological art, so take it easy on me. I say that as in, like, I do know my big three. I know my chart, and if I ever need some sort of like guidance, sometimes that means going to my friend who is very well versed in astrology and trying to see what the stars have to say. But with that being said, if you're curious, I am a Taurus sun, a Virgo moon, and a Capricorn rising. So I have quite a bit of earth sign in my chart. My friend who, like I said, is well versed in astrology says my chart scares her because it's about 75% earth sign, and I do have five different placements in Taurus specifically. That does mean I have both all the good and bad traits of a Taurus. So right now I currently reside in New York City. I have been living here for about 3 years. I moved to New York immediately after graduating college. I went to UNC Chapel Hill and I majored in advertising and PR. And so I was able to get an internship at an advertising agency. And then from there, I kind of just started my working career in advertising and PR. So, but yeah, so I went to Chapel Hill. I majored in ad PR. I also minored in American Studies. I really love learning about like any sort of cultural studies. So that's where I was kind of drawn to American Studies. It was a minor by chance. I didn't go into college thinking I would be taking as many culturally based classes as I did, but that's where I honestly found a lot of my personal interest to lie. I loved American Studies. You just learn a lot about the who, what, when, where, how, but you also learn about the like, I kind of like to describe it as history reworked. So like, if you have a time, place, and date, how did we get there? What were the people, who were the people involved? Like what was the, like almost the behind the scenes of anything any big moment that you would know about in history. That's why I like American Studies, and it's pretty cool, it's pretty fun. So I would say outside of work or school, I like to believe that I'm good at a lot of things, but I'm great at very few. And I don't think that's necessarily like a bad thing. I wish I could like say I'm super niched down in one thing or the other, but I don't necessarily know if that's the truth. But regardless, some of the things that stuck for me that I think I'm good at and I want to continue to pursue would be like fashion, art, and sports. Sports is a little loose. I grew up playing sports my entire life. So I started playing t-ball at the age of 4 and then pretty much ended on volleyball in college. I didn't play a varsity sport in college, but I did play club volleyball, so it was still a big chunk of my time and energy dedicated to that sport, but sports in general, up until the age of 22. So regardless, like some sort of form of athletics and moving my body has always been the norm for me. And trying to find that transition into adulthood has been a journey, but I'm still kind of figuring out what that means for me, whether it's rec volleyball, whether it's getting into running or cycling or dance classes. We're kind of shifting our perspective, but regardless, sports, I love watching women's sports. I love being in the know about the general things happening in sports, whether that's basketball, football, soccer, college, professional. If there's some sort of tea going on in the athletic world, I do want to know about it. And I am hoping to go to the Olympics in 2028 since they will be on American soil. And then art and fashion. Fashion I have always had an interest in, but I wouldn't say it's until this like past few years where I'm like, how can I like actually make something out of this fashion interest? Like taking just simply dressing myself and making it, one, for starters, a hobby, and then two, maybe a career. I don't know what that looks like quite yet. I do know I love to find ways to style clothes that I had, both new and old. One of my favorite things, like anything, something that will immediately give me like shits and giggles, is when I have had an outfit or a clothing item in my closet for years and I finally put it on and I style it in such a way where I'm like, I would have never thought of this 2 years ago, but the fact that I had this piece all this time and I have something like a brand new outfit on, it's so exciting. And I would love to like just continue to do things like that. So that's what makes me want to believe I would love to be a stylist. I say that like, I don't necessarily say that loosely now, but I do know that I would be starting at like level 1. I have no styling background history, but I would argue that at some point everyone starts at level 1. So I'm very comfortable with that being my starting place. And then in general, yeah, I do like to dress up sometimes. I'm kind of learning what that means for me. This year specifically, it was just being willing to take more adventurous fashion risk. And I live in New York City, so I think that's a big reason as to why I feel comfortable doing so. Literally anything goes here. You can put anything on and no one will bat an eye. It's part of the reason I love New York City, is that everybody is unique, but nobody is special. For art specifically, I would just say I have like appreciation for the creative arts in general. I grew up going to like musicals and shows, like Broadway shows that were touring, and stopped in North Carolina. I thought I wanted, like my childhood career dream was to be an actress. I took theater classes at like the local children's theater all throughout like elementary school and middle school. I did chorus. I've been in the band. I grew up taking piano lessons. I played the bass guitar at one point. So I would just say anything that has to do with like performance art, studio art. I also was a photographer at one point in time. That was my high school career goal, was to be like a fashion photographer and do like editorial work. So I just have an appreciation for it all. I don't think any of that has ever gone away. And it's part of the reason why I say I'm good at a lot, but great at little. You guys, I'm realizing I can yap. and that's okay. I think that's why we're here. Like I said, this is my millionth time trying to, I won't say I'm trying to become a content creator, but I am trying to post content regularly. I've said this probably every year for the past 10 years. So I'm tired of telling myself that, and I just want to see it done. I think TikTok is one of my favorite apps in terms of taking in video content, just because I don't really go out of my way to follow too many content creators or influencers currently. I want to find more people that I feel like I resonate with, but I've never necessarily done a large search. I have people that I love when they come across my channel or my For You page. I always stop and look, but overall, like, I want to continue, or I want to make content because I love the idea of documentation. I think it's really important, not necessarily just for like his history and like a historical perspective, but also just for your own like self-preservation. I don't journal. I don't, like I said, I take photos. I don't necessarily post them anywhere. So if I like die, do they just die with my camera roll? Do they die with my iCloud that no one's gonna be signing into again? There's just like different questions I have. So like, I think in an effort to document my life, like I also need to like do something with this footage because it's no longer physical. Like I don't have like tapes that I'm recording on. I have this camera, and if it's just on this memory card and not anywhere ever, like what happens? Where do we go? So that's why I like have this keen interest in content creation. It's mostly from a documentation perspective, but also I think it's fun. I think it's a hobby that I'm trying to get into. I like the idea of video editing. I like the idea of storytelling. I like the idea of building a community and sharing not only my own tips and tricks, my own stories, and interest, but also what are other people's? What are we as a society tapping into? I want to know. I'm nosy. Tell me more. That's kind of like where I'm at in content creation and why I want to continue with it. And then another little random fact is that I love long walks. I love a long walk. I go pretty frequently on the weekends to Prospect Park here in Brooklyn to do the full loop. The park is quite large, so it's about 3.5 miles if you enter and do the exterior walking path. That's like all around, and you'll have bikers, runners, walkers, and the like, all on that path. And I go and I do a solid 3.5 miles. Sometimes I continue and keep walking somewhere else after that. I think my longest walk, like intentional walk, like I'm going out on a walk right now, is probably about 5 miles. The main thing that stops me from keeping going is one, yeah, sometimes I do get tired for sure, but also like it is time consuming. So that 3.5 mile walk is probably gonna run me about an hour. So sometimes I'm just like, that's enough for me. But regardless, I love a long walk. I go to a lot of parks after work. Sometimes I'll walk home. But it's funny because when I first moved to New York, I didn't like walking. And that was one of the like big adjustments to me living in the city. So I just think it's funny how far I came, or how far I've come, because when I tell you, like, I wouldn't even want to walk down the street like 10 minutes to the grocery store. It just felt like such a hassle. So it's just funny that I'm currently on the flip side of that. Otherwise, in New York City, in terms of things that I get into on a regular basis, I actually made it a goal this year to host 4 different like functions in the calendar year. So 1 per quarter was specifically what I said. And that's actually been so fun. Such a fun goal trying to hit. And I'm really looking forward to continuing this goal probably for as long as I can. Right now, it works out quite well for me because I live in like a nice sized apartment with 2 other roommates. But so far we had like a Galentine's craft night. I had my birthday party. I'm about to host I'm gonna convert the apartment into a coffee shop and have like a coffee kickback, as I'm calling it, in the upcoming weeks. And then I think at the end of the year we'll just do a Friendsgiving in Q4, so I'm really excited. But I'm already thinking about what specifically I want to do in 2026 because I've had the most fun. It's becoming such a fun hobby of mine and I've really been enjoying it. I think it's fun to come up with a theme and then try to execute it both like on a budget but as good as can be. I love having friends from different like groups or communities that I'm in all come together and be in the same spaces. I love the idea of just like community building, and I want to give people a space that's pretty lighthearted and easygoing to do so. Like if you come away with a person's Instagram at one of the get-togethers that I put on, I would call that a win for me. Like it has nothing to do with like that exchange probably had nothing to do with me, but the fact that people came together in a space that I tried to welcome like all different types of people, and you made a new friend, I feel a little accomplished, I'm not gonna lie. So that's what I've been getting into so far this year. In the general sense, I do a lot of the other things that anyone does in their 20s. I go to work, I go to the gym, I go to the club. Yeah, I hang out with my friends. I think I'm finally at a spot in my life where I have the resources to kind of get into whatever I want. Not to any crazy amount, but I can definitely like have a drink after work. I can go to a restaurant a few times a month. I can go hang with my friends and sit on the couch and watch a movie, and I'm content. Those were all things that weren't necessarily, one, guaranteed anywhere, but it definitely is not guaranteed when you move to a new city. So being in a space where I'm comfortable and feeling good about the people around me, I'm definitely in a good spot. So that feels really nice. Cause yeah, post-grad is rocky. Has not been smooth sailing for me. And to be able to say I'm feeling pretty good about where I'm at right now is everything. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me. I hope you learned a thing or two about who I am, what I'm about. But yeah, I hope you continue to keep watching, and I'm looking forward to sharing more of my life, myself, with the people who choose to tap in. And if you got to the end of this video, I appreciate you. My goal is to continue to post on a regular basis, so don't you worry, I will be back. If you look at my older videos and you see the very, very long gaps between posts, the goal is to avoid that. So yeah, I hope to be tapping in more frequently. So all right, bye friends. This is still recording. This is still recording.